Some babies do indeed just have a more difficult temperament. Now, if you haven't heard the word temperament before, think of it kind of like a baby's personality type. It's something that they're born with, it is innate to them. It's not something that you have created or done by your parenting style. Rather, it's likely that their temperament has shaped your parenting. If we talk about the basics of temperament, we can look at Thomas and Chess's first kind of like seminal work from 1977, where they identified 3 temperament types with like 9 underlying traits. So they identified difficult, easy, and slow to warm up, and these are really behavioral expectations. This isn't saying that the child is being difficult or that they are a difficult child. It's saying that this child has behavior or innate tendencies that are more difficult to parent in this current kind of world and Western society. So difficult kids show irregular sleep and feeding habits. They have low acceptance to new foods. They have prolonged attachment to new situations, people, and routines. They have intense reactions. They look like they kind of go from 0 to 100. And they relatively have frequent and loud periods of crying. Now, I can't quite remember from the temperament lecture I used to give, but I feel like maybe 15% of children tend to fall into that difficult category, 20% fall into the slow to warm category, and the majority of children fall into that easy kind of category. Easy children are at the opposite end of the spectrum to difficult. They're really happy to just develop their regular sleep and feeding schedules. They take to new foods and situations easily. They are more accommodating to strangers and situations that they haven't done before, whereas slow to warm up children are marked by slow adaptability to new situations and people, even after repeated contact. So they're kind of like the slow to warm kids are kind of in between the easy and the difficult. Now, these 3 temperament classifications are not exhaustive. Kids will fall in between these as well. It's not a perfect system. It's more just like a descriptor to help parents figure out where their kids kind of sit on this spectrum, so they can then figure out how to support their innate needs and maybe their innate nervous system's responses to the world around them. You guys know that I am a child development scientist for a living. I do research, so one of the measures I use is actually the Rothbard temperament questionnaires. So this one is from the infant behavior questionnaire, and I think it's for 0 to 12 months, but Rothbard is kind of like the leading resource for defining temperament traits. Not that this is something that you should use to define your child. As you can see here, for 0 to 12-month-old babies, there is so many different categories that we can break temperament down into. It's not as simple as difficult, slow to warm, or easy. It's actually, how does the child respond on each of these traits? And if you thought that was a lot, there's actually more. Here's the rest of them from the Rothbard trait temperament measure, whatever. And that's an introduction to temperament.